Good evening, everybody. My name is Zubaida. I'm your host for
Recording in progress.
So we're very, very happy for you guys to be joining us this evening with regards to the talk of NFTs. Let me just introduce to you our speaker for this evening. His name is Salim Aslam. Mr. Salim Aslam is currently a head of solutions on smart cities at Surbana Jurong. He has been involved in the tech sector and smart solutions since 1998. That's quite a long time. Founding 2 tech startup companies covering smart grids, infrastructure, predictive analytics, Internet of Things. Salim has been personally interested on blockchains in recent years as an enabler in the new economy and products, in particular NFTs. So Salim, welcome on board. How are you this evening?
Alhamdulillah, Assalamualaikum warahmatullah.
Yeah, all right. I think without further ado, because everybody's very excited, I think this is the biggest crowd that we've had.
Really?
Yeah.
I am humble.
Yeah. So I think there are still people that's gonna stroll in, but in view of time, let's just start on time. Maybe
Sure.
share with us what exactly is NFT and what value in terms of non-monetary does NFT actually carry?
Right. Alhamdulillah, thank you everyone for joining this session. You may have seen some discourse on WhatsApp from the discussions I have. I can be quite blunt when I type, but I'm a pretty nice guy, so no, don't be don't be afraid to ask questions, and I'll be happy to share. So I think before we want to go into NFT per se, I'm sure the bigger question is, what is blockchain? What is the system? What is this entire crypto thingy that happened? So in 1994 or 5, DARPA, which is the US Defense Agency, asked the question of whether they could do data transfers via peer-to-peer networks on a chain which cannot be disputed or be immutable. So that came to a few years in MIT and circulated and so on. Then a few cyberpunks came into together and then decided to do cryptocurrency, combine crypto and then blockchains into something called cryptocurrency and crypto money. So that's where Bitcoin came into point. And blockchain is essentially very simple. For example, X wants to pay A, B wants to pay X wants to pay $50, B wants to pay $10, Y wants to pay $100. All that notes is written into a ledger. That ledger is created into a hash, which is mined, and then the reward for that mining is a token, which is a Bitcoin, and then it goes into the chain. So one block of information is connected to another block, So the entire network itself then becomes difficult to, or almost impossible to change. So that's blockchain. A block of information in a ledger chained together and distributed in the network. So NFT means non-fungible tokens. Bitcoin and Ethereum and the entire family of tokens are fungible, which means that just like a jigsaw, you can take one Bitcoin and you can transact and transfer to another person's wallet, and then it becomes fungible. You can transfer. So there are many contracts which are Bitcoin, or there are many hash transactions which are Bitcoins. Non-fungible means that if I create a smart contract which says that this is my contract, I cannot replicate it anywhere else, or I cannot compare it with another smart contract. It's just a contract by itself, so it's non-fungible, but it's still a token. And that's what NFT means. NFT is not the body or the cyberpunk or the images that you see in NFTs. It's the contract. It's called NFT.
So what about in terms of non-monetary value does it carry? Why is it, I think with all the hype and the news that it's getting generally now with Straits Time and with the recent exhibition of NFT in Singapore, what kind of non-monetary value does it carry? And yeah, how come the hype is so big at this point in time?
Yeah, so the concept of collectibles, trading cards, the concept of, for example, in the world, you have FIFA cards and you have, baseball cards, you have sporting collectibles, even collectibles, running shoes or sports shoes, Air Jordans and so on. These are collectibles. And that was the long and short of, assets which have emotional connections, right? Then it moved to paintings, to avatars. Like, for example, Andy Warhol started the culture, the demand for pop culture. Superman or Wonder Woman comics in a painting, in an art piece. So then it moved to avatars, in which I have a representation of myself in the internet. If you have Xbox and so on, you have that. So that is the personal face of yourself in a virtual universe. So if you look at that point of view, right, the value of NFT is very difficult to determine on a very economical sense. Emotionally, people feel the bond. For example, I have an NFT which I like. I'm not going to sell it for forever. It's going to, even if someone offers me $100,000, I'm not going to sell it. It's because I have an emotional attachment to it. So that's the other part of NFT, which is very difficult to quantify versus, the normal token economy.
It's very interesting. I don't know, during my generation, when I was young, I can still remember the Pokemon cards.
Yes.
Everybody was collecting. So I guess that's similar to what's happening right now. So I think there's also a certain thing or factors that you look out for in particular when you want to get NFT. Maybe you may want to share with us a bit, what do NFT investors actually look at, or is it subjective? Yeah. So what's your take on that?
So one of the things about NFTs, if you're a new person in the world of NFTs, is that you got to understand it is a contract, right? It is a contract underlying it. So you got to understand what kind of contract are you talking about. Basically, is it an Ethereum contract? Is it a Solana contract? Is it a Cardano contract? So all that are clustered in that sense. So get your head around what all these different networks are all. Understand that in a very simple way. Once you have that, then NFTs are basically collectibles, right? Music, art piece, sporting goods. It can be, for example, if you love Metallica, for example, right? And there is a very invite-only concert for Metallica. That ticket that you get can have a smart contract, which makes it one of one, or one of 100. So that is the other point of NFT. So what I'm saying is rarity, right? So NFT, if you want to go into NFTs, you got to think about how rare and how popular is this particular collectible, right? And the other point is utility. So there are some NFTs in which you have the avatar, the Bored Ape, the CryptoPunk is a good example, where there is no utility in CryptoPunk. That we right is just an avatar, but it's so popular because it's first mover, right? That's why. But there are others where, for example, NFTs where I get airdrops, and I get airdrops of probably some tokens or some further images. Like, for example, I have a set of NFTs in which I get baby NFTs it's called galactic apes. So they're baby apes. And so that becomes an airdrop. So there's utility in that. And the other utility is like, it's a game. When you can utilize that as into the gamification of NFTs. You can go into a gaming world. You can go into a metaverse. You can buy land. You can build houses. So that's the other part of NFT. So utility is very important. The third thing is community. So any NFT, I can set up an NFT. It's pretty simple to do, but it takes a lot to sustain that community. So if you want to look at NFTs which are popular, you look at, for example, if you go OpenSea, there's a platform called OpenSea, or if you go to NFTscoring.com or something like that, where you see all the top NFTs. And if you go to Discord, which is where I research on NFTs, actually, I listen, I hear, I read up, I see the disputes and arguments between and then see how the community interacts. So if the community is strong, one, the community is passionate. Two, community is very helpful. Three, there is a real world activity that's happening. For example, there's a very good community called Gutter Cat Gang, and Gutter Cat Gang is one of the hot NFTs, which I also own. They have get-togethers in Miami, in New York, in Australia, so everyone sees one another face to face. So there's interaction, there's camaraderie. So that is the three things that I look at when I go into NFTs. There is the other, and there are two ways to look at it, right? Hot and flip. Well, when I see something which is very nice, good, I can scalp it, buy it, sell it. I don't really need to be long-term in it. I just need to know that there is good demand. Second is hold and grow. And hold and grow is where you need to make sure that the community lasts for a long time.
Right, sounds like a huge mountain of information. So let me just summarize it a bit so that our investors or those that are keen in getting their hands a bit dirty with NFT, there's three things that you most probably look out for in NFT: utility, rarity, as well as the community.
Yeah,
you guys get that? Thumbs up, please, if you guys get that. Apart from that, there's also two means in terms of investments, which is hot and flip. Yeah. Right? So hot and flip is when you have to scalp the NFT and then you buy and then you don't hold, because the moment the value increases, then you just sell it off again in the market. The other one is you hold and you grow. However, when you hold and you grow, you need to make sure that the community is sustainable. Yeah. And that in itself, we're looking into maybe number of years, right?
Yeah.
Then, having said that, where do you see the value of NFT in the next, say, 5 to 10 years? Because usually when you talk about investments, we look into investments, particularly maybe mid-term or long-term. So with NFTs, where do you actually see the value in the next 5 to 10 years?
So it's a very hard question to answer, because NFTs historically is only since 2007, right? There is CryptoKitties, Cyberpunk, and I think there's one more I forgot, which three of them were the hot early days, and CryptoPunk was actually given for free because no one wanted to buy CryptoPunk. So and yet the last auction by Christie's or Sotheby's was about, I think, $6 million to $8 million US. So in the span of 3 years. So that gives you an indication of how NFT might grow. It's the factor of 100,000 times if you're lucky, if you get the right one. Okay, and so it is driven by passion, psychology, rather than market forces. I would say that if you want to have an NFT, first of all, you've got to wake up in the morning and feel happy looking at that image, or the avatar, or that product, or listen to that music. If enough of those people around you feel the same way, you've got a good sustainable NFT business to move forward to. The next stage of NFT is gamification, where for example, if you are a fan of Skyrim, for example, if you're Elder Scrolls, if you are interested in those kind of things, imagine all the and Skyrim and Elder Scrolls is one of the biggest games in the world, right? It's millions and millions and millions of copies sold for everyone. Imagine each one of those characters becomes an NFT, and you can become your own playable character in that gaming world. Then you can buy and trade and so on. So all that happens, you create a metaverse in which you become a participant of a universe in which there is economy tokenomics in it. That's the next stage, a metaverse where your real world and your your virtual world kind of mixes together. It is a dangerous thing, but it is the next step.
Sounds like what we're having now, because right now you have like the value of net worth, right? Personal net worth in the finance industry. So then that's a similar concept that people are bringing it in then into the metaverse. Am I right to say that? Where your value is then attached to the NFTs in terms of gamification. So then I think that's it can be worrying and at the same time cause some form of anxiety, especially to those who say are not ready to dive into NFT. And like, does it mean that if we do not invest in NFT, will we lose out? What do you think?
I would say no first and then yes. I wouldn't say yes and no.
Complicated answer, Salim. Yeah, okay, then go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So no, because it's driven by your personal likes and wants, right? If you don't feel any loss for anything, there is nothing to gain, right? So and you know, some people would say, you know, what is this world? I'm not interested. So that, you know, so be it. Someone's $100 million millionaire from that, but what do I know about it? That's fine. It's when you feel that you have a game plan in your mind about that world, and you feel that there is it resonates in your mind and you're thinking that when you see you will get a loss when you sit on your chair and not figure it out. Now, at one time in the future, Zubaida is a brand, and that brand is an on-chain NFT which has historical history in it, which is immutable, and no one can actually destroy that history. That is actually in itself a very powerful tool in the Web 3.0 world, where you are your own brand. And imagine you being your own brand. What you do with it is monetization. And that's where it's a loss, because if you don't know how to use it, you don't know how to, then you don't extend your own value in the market.
Wow, that's huge. Like, there's a huge gap as well, right? So I mean, it means that everybody needs to at least figure out how this NFT work at the end of the day. That there'll be a tipping point, I'm pretty sure, from the sounds of it, because when you talked about like, if I'm my own brand, so that means to say we have like so many people here and each of them will have history behind their own brand, and how similarly like how they position themselves in the metaverse in terms of their net value and their net worth in the virtual space would then be equitable as to how they monetize it in the virtual space.
Correct. So you know, I am Salim Incorporated. I've had that philosophy in the way I work for the past 6-7 years, and the reason why I have that thinking is that when I talk to my bosses or to my colleagues or to my friends, they know that I bring a certain value in the interaction, so they know my brand. And knowing that brand does not means that you are not then in a hierarchy of a salaried person. You're in a hierarchy of you providing a service where you've agreed a contract of a certain amount to getting paid. All right. Now you then extend it to your brand in other aspects of your life. You then become a self-fulfilling prophecy of yourself, and that's metaverse. That in reality is metaverse. You taking your limitations and shoving it aside, and then branding yourself according to your strengths.
That's a lot to take in philosophically, economically, and socially, which I don't think we have the time to cover in this talk. But nonetheless, I think the other important aspect is, what are the Sharia issues you foresee that may appear in NFTs?
So one of the things that I will always request everyone to do is that don't get too excited by NFTs or tokenomics. be logical about it. And when I say logical, for example, I got wind of a particular low cap token. Okay. And if I had invested about 2 weeks ago, I would have probably had about 200 to 300x of that. And it wasn't on any central exchange. It was in one of those decentralized swaps and so on. And because I knew some people who were talking about it and who were cheering it up, who were like revving it up. Unfortunately, that one is about gambling. Right, it's gamification, but its first indication link was jackpot and all that stuff. So if I was not having any bounds with Sharia, I would have bought it. But because I know that gambling in essence is wrong in Islamic concept, I can't in good conscience invest in something like that. So if you have to extend your moral grounds and your boundaries on obscenity, on certain concepts of freedom of liberal thinking that you may not be comfortable with, which is very, very prevalent and prominent in the NFT world, which you must decide whether it works or not for you. Right?
I think that in itself would be a subjective screening tool then.
Correct.
For the
Yeah.
users
And the other thing is, is NFT in itself permissible in Islam? Is it an asset? Is it an investment? Is it a token? Is it in between? So there are things which are ambiguous in the whole ecosystem. I would say for myself, I've looked at the Sharia arguments. It is an asset. So an asset is not something which is easily translatable. It's not liquid. So because it's not liquid, when you sell it, you go through the zakat process. When you hold it with no intention of releasing it, it becomes an illiquid asset. So that's the other way. How do you define liquid versus illiquid assets?
Okay, that's another topic for another day, I suppose. I know that some of our listeners or our participants have actually requested how do we go about getting NFT, and I'm pretty sure you've also prepared some slides.
Yeah.
For them.
I would just do a very simple one. I've not presented on Zoom too much because I'm a Teams person, but let's try. Apologies if I don't get it right. Where do I share?
At the bottom, in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So desktop. Okay. One thing about my system is that I have to give permission. So I'm you can consider me as a bit paranoid. So whenever I do something, I've got to give permission so that no one can access my system.
Because there's a huge bunch of NFT collection, guys.
One of them, yes. So I'm a bit paranoid in that sense. Okay, so bear with me. Desktop 2 should be it. Can you see my screen? I think you can.
Not yet, actually. So I can't see your screen.
How about now?
Yeah, that's good.
Cool. Okay, so let me extend this. You should be able to see it. So I think you should be able to see the screen, right?
Yeah, MetaMask in terms of setting up the wallet.
Yeah. So the first thing about NFTs is that you need to have a wallet. A wallet is a string of hash numbers that you need to have that directs. It's basically your virtual address in the cyber world, and it's a Web 3.0 technology. There are many there's Solarflare, Phantom, Trust Wallet, and so on. But I prefer MetaMask because MetaMask is pretty easy to do. So first of all, MetaMask is one of the easiest to set up because in your Chrome, you can actually have an extension, and then it just links to your Chrome. So you have to go to a MetaMask a website or go look at your Chrome to do an extension of MetaMask, and then from there you can see the screen and you say get started with your wallet. right? So MetaMask is one of them. Ethereum, Binance, Polygon, and so on, other coins as well. Now, hang on. So where did you download it? So there are many different types. You've got the Android, iOS. Brave is one of the web browsers. Chrome is also possible. So always remember that when you set up and install, always remember that follow the instructions and just make sure that you don't that you understand what are the terminologies like Ethereum and so on and so forth. So it is a very useful place to look at. And if you're not clear on terms of what are the features and support, you get all that items there to check, right? So if you already set up your MetaMask, this is what it looks like if in Ethereum. This guy here is your address. I have an ENS address, which is obane.ens. So instead of having this, I have that. It makes it easier for me for people to send money to me and for me to send out and so on. So in this setup, you can buy, send, swap your assets and activities, and you've got your information in terms of numbers of Ethereum. Now load up your wallet with some Ether if you are going into Ether kind of NFTs. Or you can do or what have you. Typically, Ether is the most popular NFT token to use, and you can buy it from Coinbase, from Gemini, from CoinHako, or wherever you can, and then make sure that you go through the process of transfer or to your particular address, not this address, to your particular address, which is unique to you given here. And then you will be within a few minutes seeing the Ether in your wallet. Next, you go into a website which is like OpenSea, and this is kind of like a trading website at the background. They will say, okay, so if it is a Web 3.0 website, it will allow you to connect your wallet, your MetaMask, to the site, and you say connect wallet. Once you have done, then you're basically already set up for buying and selling of your NFTs in that particular site. It is a one-time procedure. Whenever you disconnect, you can always wish to de-link your wallet to the website and link it back again as and when. It's very flexible, an easy way to do it. But follow instructions, and unsure, read up again. Do not be too laissez-faire in terms of going from step 1 to step 2 step 3 until you understand that you've gotten the procedures correct. Now this is Bored Ape for an example.
You get this?
Sorry?
Do you buy this? Is this yours?
No, I don't like Bored Ape.
It's popular though.
It is, but I don't like Bored Ape. And when it first came out about in June of May of last year, I heard about it. I didn't get into it. Maybe I should have, despite not liking it. But it is what it is. I'm not kicking myself for not buying it. But I'm just giving you an example. Yeah. This is a floor ape, which means that it is not one of the rare ones. It's pretty common ape. But I kind of like the representation here. So if you go to a particular NFT, this is OpenSea here, right? If you go to a particular site, OpenSea, and you see, okay, I like this. I know that it is 59.6F, about $200,000 US, and is owned by this guy. Now it's having a sale. It says, you want to buy, you can press this. And once you're connected, as long as your MetaMask is connected, it will pop up. The MetaMask will pop up. Are you sure you want to do it? Sign off, and once you click it, it will run its contract. You pay gas in terms of transaction fees. Then within the next 10 minutes, you're done. You own this, right? Because you're happy with this price. The other way is you can make an offer where you have a wrapped F. A wrapped F is basically a slightly different version of Ether, which you can convert again with MetaMask, and it's easy to do it. That is basically you're saying, I don't want to pay 59.6F. I want to pay 20F, 20 Ether, for example. You can do it and you make an offer, and then, you know, if you scroll down, it's up to that person to accept it or to laugh at you for giving a low ball, depending on whatever happens. And low balling happens a lot.
So it's a bit like an auction. Would you say that? Like
this is actually a barter, a buy and offer. There are options. So how some people will set up is that I own this guy. Oops, sorry. I own this guy.
He looks cute.
Yeah, it's yeah. So this is mine. And basically you can have a if you want to sell, if you want to set up the sell, you can do a time auction. You can do a Dutch auction. You can set a fixed price. You can set a duration of any time, anything between 1 day to 6 months. You can sell a bundle. You can set a few of these guys together. And if someone contacted you, you've agreed to a price, you can set this up and do and open this for a specific wallet that wants to buy it. And then you just press sell, and you're in the process of, you know, whether someone wants to buy it or not. My daughter likes this. She doesn't want me to sell it. But you know, in some time in the future, I will. I'm not sentimental about this. It's just cute. So, and yeah, that's it.
All right. It looks like an exciting marketplace to be in. It's quite dynamic, judging from the fact, and I mean from the fact that you've shared that, you know, every morning you need to wake up early, and then you need to feel happy about it in terms of your collectibles, and you need to be one of the biggest fan in terms of ensuring that the community sustained throughout that time of investment as well.
Correct.
Yeah, so I guess it can be quite, I would say, dynamic, and at the same time time consuming, and at the same time exciting. So it's a lot of emotions as well to manage. So as an early investor, I think it's really important to understand what goes behind that, and to also be able to manage yourself. Would you agree?
Yeah. Yes. When I first started building my Ether and my other, you know, coins or tokens, it was a traditional setup of you know, let me close this sharing. It was a traditional kind of you know, buy and sell trade and so on. But in the NFT world, you can get very easily carried away. It becomes a bit of an addiction if you're not careful, because it's you know, if someone will say so there's a you know, for example, a crypto Mori is an interesting NFT where you know, the Day of Skulls, the Halloween, so they kind of make that cartoonish image. It's quite popular. One crypto Mori is about maybe 1,000 US. If you were to go out and spend 1,000 US, you would think 2-3 times, but you'll be surprised at how easily someone clicks and buys one Mori without thinking about $1,000. So you can wipe out your entire you know, reserve if you're not careful. But having said that, if anyone goes in with the thinking that you know, it is a joyful experience, it is something which they love to do, you know, all power to you. Because I know of I have friends who have probably up to $600,000 to $700,000 worth in Singapore of one type of NFT alone. And they are happy with that, and it's their life, is their way of doing it, and as long as it doesn't put them into trouble, by all means. But when you start thinking about flipping and profiteering and so on, be careful. It's not an easy market to be, because it's an illiquid market until you find someone to buy.
All right, let's go on to our Slido questions. I think we've already answered some of the questions inherently, but we wouldn't be taking questions on crypto, because that's another, what do you call that, topic altogether. So I think you've already addressed this. Do we hodl NFTs? How do you pay zakat on crypto or NFTs? In particular for this talk, let's go and concentrate on NFTs.
Okay. So NFTs, as I said, is an asset. It's an illiquid asset. It's not easy to flip. It can take you, if you're lucky, if it's a hot topic, a hot product, or something you can flip 2-3 days. It's fine. But it's very likely you're going to hold it for 2, 3, 4 months at least, if not longer. So for me, for me, zakat is not something that I would realize for it until it becomes a liquid asset. And when it becomes a liquid asset, that's when we got to take the assess whether or not it's been held within the zakat period of time, and then fulfill that payment and so on. You can't just sell and then buy another one and think that you're not liable for zakat. It doesn't work that way, right? You have to be careful in that sense. But as long as you hold that asset as an illiquid asset, it's not, to me, it is not, it's like owning a house. It's not something in which is due for payment, because you don't have a means by which you can translate that asset into money quickly and easily.
Okay, I think you talked about the risk just now. I think you mentioned that in a bit. So there's no ruling, which you've already addressed just now as well. Is there any way to value NFT like DCF for stocks?
Yes and no. It's not a straight answer. It is okay. So, do you DCF NFT? Possible, but you have to DCF in those NFTs which is affordable for your scope of spend. If your DCF money is a couple of $1,000s, then you've got to find NFTs which are a couple of $1,000s within range, which is a small value one. 0.1, 0.2, 0.3 ethers, for example, depending on the market stance. And you also have to weigh in whether or not you like the particular NFT itself. So for example, I bought a GCG, or Gutter Cat Gang, when it was in the mint stage. I bought the mint, and then I basically converted that into pigeons and dogs and cats. They're all there, and so I DCF that, but my DCF wasn't small. My DCF were probably about $3,000 to $4,000 US per buy. So I have now about, I think probably about 10 of them. Yes, you can, but it's not as easily, it's not as a quick translation from that crypto or stock DCF. It's more of you have a game plan of collecting a certain particular NFT type, where you know that in the next 6 to 8 months or 12 months, there is a good roadmap that you can realize value in that.
I really like, I think you mentioned something about minting just now. So let's address this question. What is minting in NFT?
Okay. Minting has both a good and bad connotation to it. There is in the early days of NFTs, there is an announcement of 10,000 NFTs or 3,000 NFTs that's going to be sold at this hour or this minute and this time zone or this period of time, and then people come and buy and connect to the wallet and purchase from that website in which where the NFT is being sold. So there was a very direct market, buyer-seller environment. Now, in Ether world, the gas fee, which is the fee that you pay to transact that or to encourage the node validators or the miners to be taking your request as up in the queue, went up quite a big expensive way. You can probably sometimes pay $200-300 US just to pay for a transaction. It can go up that high. So what happened was that so minting translated from just opening up a day where people can buy and then you get sold out, that's minting, to minting based on a whitelist. So you get selected to be to going to a pre-sales where you go to the minting process stage 1, and then minting process stage 2 is public sales. Now that had its own issue because I know some people could manipulate the smart contracts and then buy a thousand NFTs while everyone else could only do 2 or 3. So there was that gamification of that, and that happened. The third type of minting then came about, where if you have a Genesis NFT. When I say a Genesis NFT or OG NFT, is that the first NFT, for example, if you own a Cool Cat, one that I showed to you, the one with the hard hat, and then the Cool Cat has a second NFT of a baby cat or something else. Because I own the Cool Cat, I get a free mint access, and I can get the NFT, the derivative NFT, which is a cool baby cat or something like that, as a locked-in value for me, and then no one else can get it. And after I get it, whatever is balanced is gone to the market. So that's how I got when I owned Galactic 8, a set of 7. I got the baby version of that set of 7 for free, and when so it becomes an airdrop. So that's another form of minting.
So that's like something similar to exclusivity that you get.
In essence,
what do you call that? You get like the first hand, or the VIP pass to get that NFT. We don't have much time because we're only left with 5 more minutes. So I have to choose a particular question. I really like this question. When NFT causes distraction for normal people, do you think we're considered abetting in this?
When it causes distractions, distractions is a derivative of a psychological state of mind, and anything and everything can be a distraction, and it can be an overwhelming one. It's typically something of an obsessive behavior. Yes, it can be. If you're very addicted to it, and if you keep on buying it, if you don't have a sense of spending and spending without realizing that you're harming your own daily expense, your savings, your family, and so on, yes, you can. But it is not the NFT itself which is causing this. It's the person's psychological inclination. So that I'm very careful with that statement, because I feel that if you are a gamer, if you are a runner, if you enjoy food and so on, anything without moderation, without considered thinking of what you're doing, is always risking yourself to be obsessive on something. So yes, if melalaikan, in that sense, being obsessive, obsessing on something and then forgetting about everything else, it needs someone to help you pull yourself out of it. I tend to look at it. Do I feel pain when I spend money? If I feel pain, I stop.
I think we talked about just now, right? In terms of self-management, managing your emotions, being aware of how much you're actually spending time on it. I think in essence, there's a lot of self-awareness, self-management that you yourself have to be aware where you're positioned at that point in time. Right. I'm just going to take one last question, because I think this is a very important one. Are there signs of scams to look out for when investing with NFT?
Oh, yes. Very much so. I've been scammed myself. And it's a good lesson. It's like going into University of Life. Thankfully, I've earned more than I've been scammed. So my net is that I still don't lose. I still regain the loss. So the first signs of scams is that watch out for the people that are shilling. We call it shilling, selling the the NFT. They're shouting, they're screaming, they're pushing for it but yet it has very low Twitter followers. You go to Discord, and this is like a very small number of Discord followers, but everyone is like screaming and shouting and so on. Something is up. Second thing is whether or not the developers or the people that are the owners or the promoters, are they transparent or anonymized? Which means that there's quite a lot. Used to be there quite a lot of NFTs in which you don't know who is actually the people who are pushing for the NFT. The third one is that for me, when I look at it, what are the promises? If it sounds like a Ponzi, it is a Ponzi, right? If you buy an NFT and it says, oh, we're going to give you a token which is 10x. If you own 10 units or 20 units or 20 tokens, and then you're going to get this over at this hour or that hour, you got to ask yourself, is it too good to be true? If it is, it's better for you not to feel the loss of not buying than to feel the loss of losing your money.
All right. I think that's all we have for today. Let me just summarize a few things that we can take away. Number one, I think it's important to look at NFTs in terms of utility, rarity, as well as the community. Number two, be prepared to lose some money before you earn some money. So I guess that's something that we have to be comfortable with, and how much you intend to lose is also something that you have to be comfortable with, because at the end of the day, I think we will lose some before we actually gain. I mean, it's a zero-sum game, and hopefully at the end of it is a positive, which it comes with experience, which you have highlighted very nicely just now, Salim. In terms of investing and getting to know NFT, right now it may not seem as missing out, but I think it'll be good for everybody to be aware of what's happening and to also read up and get along and get their hands a bit dirty, because at the end of the day, when the future comes, that's going to be something that you cannot ignore, avoid, or use, right? Like, it's something that's going to be there and it's going to just grow ultimately. So similarly, like how, the last time we used from Nokia phones to smartphones, I think it's just going to be that stage where it's just transiting to that. I think that's about it, really. We have to end here, because if not, it can just extend to another whole hour. Some intense and a whole lot of information. But before we go, we'd like to have your feedback about this talk and how you find it. Some of you may find that it's very technical. I apologize for that. But we can look into something more serial in future in terms of NFT workshops, where we can really invite experts in and really teach you through that, and that would have to be like a 1 or 2 day workshop of sorts. I think that's about it, really. So if you have any more questions, do drop us a note in Instagram. If not, then we'll end our talk here. Thank you very much, Salim, for your time, and I hope everybody has taken some points away from this evening's talk.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me. Yeah. So I think just one last word before we go is maybe when you are going into this space, don't rush into it, but be very curious about it. Curiosity is the one that brought me into this space. I wasn't even deciding whether I wanted to buy something, but I was very curious. I was very interested. And then I figured it out. So be curious, and that's where you're going to start off.
Yeah. I think that'll be something that we have to, bring that up in the next year. So let's see what's up for next year. We'll have to retreat and regroup and then rethink about next year's talks and workshops, because there's been a lot of requests so far.
Yes.
All right, everyone, I shall not hold you up.
Thank you.
Ready to go off now. Bye-bye. Assalamualaikum.
Bye.